And this should just be the following page. So assuming my pages are still correct, if they haven't gotten off, should be page 58. And it'll say 5.5. It says parallel lines and angle relationships. And in fact, while it says parallel lines, we really didn't even get to that today. This is a really, really long section. There's a lot of stuff here. But we didn't even get through kind of half of this, the first period. So do your best with this, and then we'll kind of see where we're at the end. And then we'll probably need to finish this up tomorrow. So you'll see at the top, in terms of a quick little definition, a word you probably haven't heard of before. It's called a transversal. The definition for that is a line. So if you look, though, we have three different lines right here that are drawn in. A transversal is the line that intersects the two other lines, basically. So two lines, coplanar just means they lie on the same, in this case, piece of paper. So the two lines that we would call our coplanar lines are these guys. All right, so we have this line and then this line, so A and B. And then the line that intersects those two, that's what your transversal is. So if I talk about what our transversal is, come on. Here we go. This guy, that is this line right here. When that happens, notice that the red line creates four different angles with this top line B, and it creates four angles with the bottom line A. Okay, so make a note of, or understand that. And then those all have different sorts of relationships that we're now going to define and then identify. And that's what this is now saying. Different angle pairs, so pairs are two, formed by transversals cutting across coplanar lines. So if you look at this first one, it's saying alternate interior angles. So let's first talk about interior. So if you look at the two black lines that are being cut by the red line, so if we look at those two lines, interior refers to anything inside of those two black lines. All right, so that's what this word here is referencing. What alternate stands for, and what that's referring to, is if you look at your transversal, let's talk about our interior angles first. So right now, 4, 3, 5, and 6 are the interior angles. So if I just want interior, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are interior. What alternate now means is look at the red line. Look at the ones that are on the opposite sides. So what we're going to call alternate interior angles here, notice how 3 is inside of those two lines, inside of the shaded region. 5 is inside of that blue shaded region. But notice how they're on opposite sides. That's what the word alternate is referring to. You could almost use this opposite. So those are on opposite sides of the transversal within the two coplanar lines. So what we would say here, when I ask you to name a pair of alternate interior angles, you would say angle 3 and angle 5 are alternate interior angles. However, wouldn't we then have to have another set? Because if you look at angle 4 is also inside of the blue shaded region, inside of those two black lines, as is 6, and those also lie on alternate sides of the transversal between those lines. So we would also say angle 4 and angle 6 are alternate interior angles. All right. I don't want to get rid of all that, though. Let me shade this all again. So those are our alternate interior angles. If you then go to the next one, very, very similar. The next pairs that we want to identify are alternate again. So alternate means the same exact thing that it meant in the previous set of pairs of angles. They need to be on the opposite side of our transversal. But in this case, they need to be exterior angles. So if we revisit this graph, if the yellow region is the inside, so that's angles 3, 4, 5, and 6, then our exterior angles would have to be the other 4. Since this is not inside the lines, these are all exterior angles. 1, 2, 7, and 8 are exterior angles. What you're going to name in that next category are alternate exterior angles. So let's look at angle number 1 first. Get rid of some of this. So just look at angle number 1. If we go to these other two angles, 7 and 8, that are formed by the other line, the exterior angle between 7 and 8 that's on the opposite side has to be angle 7. So angle 1, angle 7, they're opposite sides of the transversal, but outside of those two black lines. So 1 and 7. And we should get another set, because if we go back up, if I took angle 2 right here, that's also outside of the yellow shaded region between the black lines, as is number 8, and they're on opposite sides of the transversal. So 2 and 8, we would also consider alternate exterior angles. All right. The next one. Now, having done this first period, jump to, we're going to do corresponding last. Jump to where it says same side interior, just because I have it shaded right now. So focus here again on the idea that we want to be interior. So if I go back to these angles up here, the yellow region is your interior region. They're inside of the black lines. So if I now take angle 4, that's an interior angle. If we look at the 5 and the 6, the two angles created by the other line, same side interior, 5 is the angle who is on the same side as 4 of the red line, but also stays within those two black lines. So angle 4 and 5 are same side interior. Make sure you understand where you're putting these. I skipped that. So go with same side interior. So that was angle 4 and angle 5. But at the same time, we have a couple more. Angle 3 is also inside of that yellow shaded region. It's on the right-hand side of the transversal, as is angle 6. It's on the right side of the red line. It's inside the two black lines. So 3 and 6, we would also consider same side interior. All right. Without me saying anything, do the same side exterior. So write those down and see what we think. So same side exterior angles, the bottom of the paper. Make sure you're writing these down because we skipped the middle one. Write down what you think. We should have 2 pairs of them, pair 1 and pair 2. Same side exterior. And if you don't have the packet, the paper, there you go. That's the graph. So same side, but on the exterior. All right, so what we should be looking at, here are your exterior angles. 1, 2, 7, and 8 are all exterior angles. They're outside of those lines. And we want the pair that are on the same side. So if you look at your red line, angle 1 and angle 8 are outside, and they're both on the left side of the transversal. So you're going to do 1 and 8. That's one of our pairs. And then if we go back up, there should have been another pair, because angle 2 and angle 7 are both outside of the shaded region and on the right-hand side of the transversal. So 2 and 7 would be your second one. All right, so those are our same side exterior. Now go to that third one, the one in the middle that we skipped. And these are called corresponding angles. All right, so let's now go up here. I wanted to do this one last so I could erase all of this now, so we can focus in on what we're looking at. So what we talked about at the very beginning, when this happens, these two lines, the black ones, line B, line A, intersect that transversal, both of them. And we form 4 angles up here. You form 4 angles down here. So when we now look at those, if I had you look at angle number 1, notice how of these 4 angles up here, that's the upper left-hand angle, right? So this is our upper left-hand angle of these 4 angles here. If we go down to these 4 angles, whichever one of these 4 angles is the upper left-hand angle, which in this case is 5, those are considered corresponding angles. So in this case, angle 1 corresponds to angle 5. So if you go to the middle where it says corresponding angles, that's the first thing you're going to put. So angle 1 and angle 5 correspond to each other. If we revisit this, not only do we have an upper left-hand corner, but don't we also have an upper right-hand corner here? The upper right-hand corner in this 4 sets of angles would be 6. So 2 and 6 are also corresponding angles. So let me get those down. And then if you really understand what those mean, you would hopefully understand that there are more of these. So if we revisit the graph, we have angle 4. That's the lower left-hand corner. The lower left-hand corner here is 8. So angle 4 and 8 are corresponding angles. And then the color green. The lower right-hand corner is 3. The lower right-hand corner is 7. So 4 and 8 and 3 and 7 are also corresponding angles. All right. Eventually, we're going to talk theorems. Some of those are congruent to each other. Some of those are supplementary to each other. All those words come back to us eventually as we build on this. So we have to first be able to identify what all of those angles are. And then we'll add to that. That's probably what we're planning on doing tomorrow. So go to the next page. And then now we're going to kind of practice. Here's a bunch of angles. Tell me which one they are. So as we do this case versus the first case, we have 3 different lines. So this is line 1. This is our second line, and then this is our third line. So what I want you to now do is find angle 1 and angle 4. So here's angle 1. Here is angle 4. While we have 3 different lines, notice how angle 1 is formed by line 1. Angle 4 is formed using line 2. So in this problem, we can kind of ignore line 3. Our 2 angles that we're concerned about have nothing to do with line 3. It's the one that we just talked about. Notice how when I create these 4 angles up here, the 4 angles down here, notice how this green region is the upper right-hand angle. This green region where 4 is at is also the upper right-hand angle. So what we would call those pair is a pair of corresponding angles. All right. All right, next one, 5 and 8. So now let me get rid of these guys, bring this back. So now angle 5 is here. Angle 8 is there. So now the line that we're not concerned about is this one. We just kind of ignore this one. It has nothing to do with angles 5 and then angles 8. So if we look at our 2 lines, let me actually shade the transversal. I should have done that. So, and then here's our transversal that's cutting through those lines. Like we talked about on the front page, let me shade here. These angles both lie inside of the 2 angles or 2 lines that we're concerned about, right? So they're interior angles, and they're on opposite sides of the transversal. All right, one's on the left side, one's on the right-hand side. They're both inside. So the little phrase, the little term that we use on the front page to identify that, these are alternate because they're on opposite sides of the transversal. All right, 5 is on the left, 8 is on the right, and they lie in between the 2 lines. So that means they are interior angles. So those are alternate interior angles. All right, let's do C and D, and then we'll see what you guys can do for E, F, G, and H. So let's see what we got here. All right, so angle, actually, let me do some erasing so we only worry about those. So angle 7 is right here. Angle 10 is right here. So this one is a little bit, write down what you think you get there. Write down what we think we have. All right, what you want to understand, these two angles are only formed by line 3. So we're really unconcerned about line 1 and we're unconcerned about line 2. Neither one of them has anything to do with angles 7 and angle 10. If you go to these problems on the front page, all of these angles that we got were formed by 2 lines, these 2 lines here, and then your transversal. So we only get these 5 phrases up here, alternate interior, alternate exterior, all that good stuff from the front page, if I have 2 lines that are getting cut by a transversal. If we go down here, that doesn't happen at all. We only have 1 line getting cut by our transversal, so none of those 5 phrases from the front page could get used. This is an old phrase. This is something that we just quizzed on. Notice how these angles are across from each other. The angles that are directly across from each other, when we have these 4 angles created by the intersection of those 2 lines, those are, if you remember, called vertical angles. So those are still relevant. You're still going to see those. You still need to know those. Okay. Okay, and then the last one we're going to do together before I want you to try some, and then we'll see what people know, is letter D. So angle 4 is here. Angle 9 is here. So the line we are unconcerned about now is this one. If we think about insides and outsides, look at the 2 lines that you have. Here is the inside of those 2 angles, or those 2 lines. Notice how 4 and 5 are not on the inside. So these are certainly not alternate interior. They're not alternate same side interior. These are exterior angles. So when we look at that, for sure, we're going to be using the phrase exterior, because 4 and 9, again, and the reason they're exterior, we're ignoring this line up here. You pretend it's not even there. So these are exterior angles. Notice how the 9 is on the left-hand side of the red line. The 4 is on the right-hand side. So they are on opposite sides. So these are alternate exterior angles. Okay. So now I'll give you a little time here. Give you 3 minutes. See what you think. E, F. Actually, do E and F first. And then a few lucky winners I'll call on and see if we can, or unless people volunteer. Let's see where we're at with this stuff. Don't make me turn this into a quick quiz. So see where you're at with all of this. Try E and F. Give you 2 minutes to do those, guys, since we're just going to do 2 of them right now. I would think E is the easier of the two. F would be the one that's a little bit harder to see maybe as you're first seeing these. All right, angle E. Anybody think they have an idea? Or not angle E, letter E. Angle's 1, angle 9. So here's angle 1. Here's angle 9. This is the one that I am more hopeful for. I think this is probably the easier of the two. Any brave souls? Jacob, go ahead, Jacob. Good. These are alternate. That just means they're on the opposite side of my red line. So the 1 is on the right-hand side, 9 is on the left. And then if we look at what's the inside of those two lines, you would notice that 1 and 9 are both outside of that shaded interval. So these are alternate exterior angles. All right, good. All right, then we go to the one that I think is a little bit trickier. We have angle 2 and angle 6. All right, anybody think they got that one? That's not Jacob M. All right, Gael, what do you think, Gael? Good, perfect. Those are corresponding angles. Very good. All right. When you do this, ignore this here. So ignore this third line. Think about what would be interior of these. This is the interior. Notice how 2 is inside, but the 6 is outside. So no phrase that has interior or exterior works because one of those angles is in, one of those angles is out. If you notice, the reason we would consider these corresponding is these are both the lower right-hand corner of this 4, and 6 is the lower right-hand corner of that 4. All right, good. All right, good. That went pretty well. G and H, real quick. Do those guys. See what you think. You get these right, I don't have to make up a quiz. I'll let you guys out a little bit early. So see what you think for 6 and 7, and then 6 and 10. All right, we'll go in 30 seconds. See if we can get some people here. So see what you think for G and H. All right, 6 and 7, what do we think? All right, Dahlia. What do you got, Dahlia? Very good. So those are alternate sides of that red transversal. So that's why we use the word alternate. And then of these two lines that are making those two angles, they both lie inside. So these are alternate interior. All right, very good. Then we actually use those same two lines for this next one, but you're going to be doing 6 and 10. Actually, I do want to shade this in again. So here's your interior. Because what you want to notice, these are the ones that normally people have the hardest time identifying. Here's the interior, 6 is inside, but 10 is outside. So 4 of the 5 are not even an option because 4 of the 5 have the words interior or exterior in them, and that would require both of them to be inside or both of them to be outside. So if we understand that idea, there's really only one legitimate option left. Now you would want to double check. Notice how in this set of 4 and this set of 4, all right, those end up being what? What's our last one here? Good. Abigail's got it. Those are corresponding angles. They're both lower right hand corner of those 4 sets of angles, or sets of 4 angles. Good. All right, so lower right hand. Okay. All right, very good. That is as far as we got first period. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there and give you a little bit of time off today. I'm going to have myself a little longer lunch as well. But tomorrow, just keep in mind, we're going to add some things to these now. When these lines become parallel, none of the ones we dealt with were parallel, and you have a transversal, we now start having special properties about congruency, supplementary, things like that, that eventually will turn into problems. And then you need to know not only what type of angles they are, but then it gets into the whole, are we setting them equal? Are we adding them up to equal 180? But the next couple of pages now get into solving the problems with all of these theorems, okay? So hopefully that made some sense. Hopefully we're good from there. We'll pick up with this tomorrow, and then you'll get the homework on all of this tomorrow. If you still need, you will not have a quiz this week. It's probably going to be Tuesday or Wednesday of next week is how I would guess our quiz would play out, okay? All right, that's it. You guys get a nice little extra time there. Have a good day, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, see you guys. Oh, and they all left, so we can leave early, Mr. Kubowitz. Oh, okay, got it. What can you do? I guess we get to leave really early. We don't even have to talk. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. You sound like the kids making excuses.